This may be one of those rare times when my own words may fail to describe the situation. So instead, I'd like to read a foreword from a book that I picked up a couple months ago, actually. And once I tell you who's saying this quote, you'll understand all the sympathies behind it. And I quote, "Our first encounter with James Burrows was in the 1970s on a soundstage at MTM Enterprises, where we gone to our first staff writing position, i.e. full-time job. We had gone to the stage to see a run-through of the week's show being directed by a newcomer, a young man, bearded and bald beyond his years. He was in the process of getting his butt chewed out by our show's executive producers, who was never the least bit shy about sharing his opinion loudly and publicly. The young director just stood there, taking it, but not liking it. We decided it was pointless to introduce ourselves to the poor bastard, because he was clearly going to be on the next plane back to wherever he made the mistake of leaving. If anyone had told us we'd one day partner with him in what would turn out to be the most happily successful show and production company in our careers, we'd have thought them insane. Of course, you'd guess by now that this poor bastard is the author and subject of this book. Jimmy Burrows weathered that storm and went on to become a great friend and a brilliant and incomparably successful director. He was just starting out in his profession that day, but it seemed like he'd been destined for a career in show business for his entire life. Born to legendary writer, humorist, script doctor, and personality Abe Burrows, he spent hours of his life in theaters and studios and socialized with people whose names made the average person only seize on a marquee. It was as if both nature and nurture intended that he became a member of the entertainment world. But what was he to do? He couldn't act his way out of the rain, couldn't write, sing, dance, or play an instrument with any distinctive ability. He tried to yodel. He'd do impressions, throw his voice, juggle plates, or saw a woman in half. Volunteers for rehearsal are tough to enlist. Then, inspiration struck. Directing was the perfect job. He could do it sitting down. He could wear any clothes he wanted, and he could tell everyone what to do. And if anything ever went wrong, he could blame it on the writers. Whatever the real origin of his career choice might have been, it has entertained millions, starting with the brothers Charles. We worked together with him on many MTM shows, then for 4 years on Taxi. Our collaboration over the years was so positive, we ultimately decided to make it legal. We made some very good and some very lucky decisions together over the years, but the best one was the first. We became partners. It seemed inevitable. We'd grown up together, worked out any personality kinks, and had important things in common. We admired the same movies and TV shows. We laughed at the same things, and most important, we liked each other, as only people who have shared hundreds of meals eating from styrofoam containers on their laps can bond. As excited as we were to be working with Jimmy at the time, even we, his biggest fans, couldn't have predicted how far he would go. He's simply become the greatest director of comedy in television history. And that's not just the opinion of Jimmy and his wife, though they're the ones who have it on their bath towels. He's the greatest by any measurement. Number of episodes, number of gigantic hit series, number of awards, and the amount of volume of laughter that he's been responsible for. And amazingly, when he's not working on a series, he's doing pilots for new series. We could write a book ourselves about everything that Jimmy brings to his work. He's smart and incredibly inventive. He's in full control on stage, yet there's never a doubt who's in charge. Yet within the order he maintains, he makes space for people to feel comfortable to experiment and to create. He is an actor's director, as any actor who worked with him will tell you. But he's also a writer's director. Maybe in part because of his father, he understands how writing works and why it sometimes doesn't. Most important, he knows good writing when he sees it. First and foremost, he has had the perfect temperament for the job. He's particularly well-suited for directing TV, where, as opposed to film and theater, casts and crews can sometimes work together for years, as has been the case for Jimmy several times. The situation requires a special kind of personality, pretty much exactly the one he has. We've never seen him lose his temper, though we have seen him want to. He has no capital E ego. He's supernaturally patient, calm when everybody around him is pounding on panic buttons, and he's a great audience and encourager. People want to do their best for him. They want to make him laugh. And, oh yeah, Jimmy's funny. One day, when we were just starting to put Cheers together, the three of us were in our office when we were presented with a huge stack of legal documents for our signatures. They were detailed partnership contracts, anticipating every possible contingency and laying out legal procedures to settle any future disputes. We stared glumly at them in silence for a moment. Then Jimmy said, "I'm okay with a handshake." We shook hands and tossed all the paper in the trash. That was 40 years ago, and working with him has never been anything but a pleasure and an honor, and a hell of a lot of fun. Ready when you are, JB. Signed, us and Glenn Charles, co-creators of Cheers. The third co-creator, of course, James Burrows. James Burrows passed away today at the age of 85, and I guarantee you that if you turn on the TV and watch any sitcom of any kind, past or present, or even what sitcoms lie ahead in the future, I can all but guarantee you that James Burrows' influence will be felt for time to come. It would take forever to rattle off every single show that he did, that he directed, that is, but I'm just going to limit it to some of the big ones, including, as the Charles brothers said, his first show, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, where he started his directorial career in 1974. After that, The Bob Newhart Show, The Tony Randall Show, Laverne and Shirley, Lou Grant, The Betty White Show, Taxi, The Associates, Cheers, in fact, I think it is the only show that he created and actually has claim to a creator's credit on. Night Court, Valerie, Dear John, Wings, Rock, Frasier, Friends, News Radio, Third Rock from the Sun, Dharma and Greg, Will and Grace, where he was an executive producer as well, 2.5 Men, The Big Bang Theory, Mike and Molly, Up All Night, Two Broke Girls, Man with a Plan, Superior Donuts, The Neighborhood, Be Positive, and a handful of live in front of a studio audience specials honoring another legend in television, Mr. Norman Lear. I reiterate, watch any sitcom from the past, what's on currently, and maybe if sitcoms ever do make a comeback, any sitcom that comes on in the future. And I can all but guarantee you, James Burrows' style will not die. It's impossible to, because he's pretty much had a 60-year head start. Bless you, Jim.
If you're lucky, it's very hard to get a job directing. But when you get that job, don't worry. Knock on doors to get that job, but make sure when you're knocking on the doors, you're prepared if somebody says yes. And the second and most important thing is, when you're doing that job, don't worry about your next job. Try to do and try to bring to the production and try to bring to the entity something of yourself, so that that something you bring will be something other people need. If you just parrot the writer's words, they can get anybody to do that. But if you can contribute and you can give of your heart and you can leave a little bit of your spleen on the floor, you're going to be hired again because you're trying to make the production better. That makes you different than a lot of other people in the business.